Hey everyone, today we are diving deep into some massive, and I mean massive, changes to the French residency rules. If you're a non-EU spouse of a French citizen and you're thinking about renewing your permit, you absolutely need to stick around for this. So you're in France on that initial long-stay visa, the VLSTS, and that first big renewal is probably starting to creep into your mind, right? You've done the hard part, you've settled in, but now it's time to figure out what's next. And here's why we're talking about this now. Starting January 1st, 2026, the entire playbook for renewals is getting rewritten. And I'm not talking about a few small tweaks. This is a fundamental shift in how France views integration, and it's going to hit your application process directly. So let's get into it. Here's our game plan for today. We'll look at the big idea behind the change, then we'll break down the 2 new exams you'll have to pass, see how it all fits into your specific residency path, and wrap up with a solid action plan so you know exactly what to do. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the why. You have to understand this to see why everything else is changing. The French government is completely changing the game when it comes to what integration means. So the whole system is moving from what they call an obligation of means to an obligation of results. What does that mean? Well, before, you just had to show up. You went to your classes, got the paper stamped, boom, you were done. The focus was on participation. Now, it's all about results. You have to actually prove you've learned something by passing official exams. It's like going from just attending class to having to ace the final. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is pulled straight from the law that passed back in January 2024. This specific language, obligation of means to an obligation of result, is the legal foundation for everything we're about to talk about. It's official. Okay, so what does this obligation of results look like in real life? Well, let's start with the first big challenge, proving you can actually speak French. Here are the new goalposts. If you're going for your very first multi-year permit, that's the carte de séjour pluriannuel, you now have to officially prove you have an A2 level of French. And for those of you aiming for the big one, the 10-year resident card, you've got to jump up to a B1 level. So what in the world do these letters and numbers actually mean? Let's demystify it. A2 isn't about deep philosophical debates. It's all about the practical, day-to-day stuff. Can you order your baguette, ask where the metro is, and talk about your family and what you did over the weekend? It's about being functional in daily life. But B1 is a pretty big step up. This is where you go from just surviving to actually thriving in the language. At B1, you can handle most situations while traveling on your own. You can talk about your hopes and ambitions, and you can actually explain why you think something. You're becoming an independent speaker. All right, language is one piece of the puzzle. Now for the other half of this new equation, the brand new, totally mandatory civic exam. This is a whole new test you've got to conquer. So what's this thing look like? It's pretty straightforward. It's a multiple choice test with exactly 40 questions. No essays, no long answers, just 40 questions. And to pass, you're going to need to score an 80%. That means you have to get at least 32 of those 40 questions right. So there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room. You really have to know your stuff. So what will they ask you about? Well, it all comes from these 5 main themes. Think of it like a crash course in how France works. You'll need to know the core values of the Republic, liberté, égalité, fraternité, plus the basics of the political system, your rights and duties, and some general knowledge about French history, culture, and daily life. Now, this next bit is absolutely critical, so please pay close attention. You must take and pass this exam before you even think about submitting your renewal application. The certificate that proves you passed is now a required document. No certificate, no application. Okay, phew, we've got the 2 new hurdles, the language test and the civic exam. So let's put it all together and see what this actually means for you on your journey from that first 1-year visa to a more stable residency permit. This is a super important clarification. Who exactly does this affect? These new exams are for people applying for their first multi-year permit or their first 10-year card. So if you're just renewing a multi-year card that you already have, you can breathe a sigh of relief. These specific rules don't apply to you. And there are a few other specific groups who get a pass. The biggest one is anyone over the age of 65. You are exempt from these new tests. The other categories are a bit more specific, but it's always worth double-checking to see if you fall into one of them. Okay, I know that was a fire hose of information. The big question now is, what on earth do you do about it? So let's shift gears and build your personal action plan. Here's a simple 4-step checklist to get you started. 1. Be brutally honest with yourself about your French level. Are you really at an A2 or B1? 2. Start looking for the official testing centers near you. 3. Get studying. Start reviewing those 5 civic themes. And 4, and this one is key, book your tests way ahead of time. I guarantee you those centers are going to get slammed. This quote right here really sums it all up. Anticipation is everything. The time to get ready is not late 2025, it's right now. Use this time to figure out where your gaps are and close them before that deadline hits. And let's be crystal clear about why this is so important. This is not optional. If you submit your application without the certificates from both the language and the civic exams, your file will be marked as incomplete. Period. It won't get processed and could just be flat out rejected. So there you have it. We've gone through the new philosophy, the new tests, and your new to-do list. It is a huge shift from just having to show up to now having to prove what you know. But now you have the info, and you can prepare. So the final question is, are you going to be ready? Thanks for tuning in.